The Bodie testimonies, as compiled from statements after the Market Street robbery, Bodie, California, November 1881. Arranged as near to chronology as possible, contradictions left intact. Editor's preface. No one agreed when the horses came down Market Street. Some swore it was a breath past 3, others near 4. Memory in Bodie is not a ledger. It is a mine chute. What you drop down comes up changed. What follows is not a single account, but a braid of them. E. Hart, clerk and occasional printer, Bodie Standard. Exhibit A, Statement of Amos B. Cartwright, Bank President. At 3:15 exactly, I was reconciling notes when the doorbell rang. 4 men entered, faces wrapped, one with a scar at the jaw, one with pale eyes. They demanded Wheeler, my cashier, open the vault. I informed them the timing lock would not yield until 4. They posted guards and waited. At 4 o'clock, the vault side opened. Guns spoke. Wheeler cried, "Respect matters more than money. Write that down." Editor's note, time disputed. See Exhibits E and F. Exhibit B, Diary of Ruth Wheeler, page torn. Henry left lunch untouched, fretting over the vault. The bell rang once, then twice, though there is only one bell. I thought time had rung twice at once. Then Mrs. Turnbuckle said men with red cloth stormed in. If Henry dies, ink broken. Exhibit C, Sheriff Jonas Pike's report. At 3:57, I was flagged by Boyle. Banks in it, but not robbery, waiting. Through the glass, I saw shadows pacing. At 4:02, the vault opened with its usual sigh. Then 3 shots, 1 dull, 2 sharp. The leader stepped out. Scar at his jaw. He fired, splinters flying. I fired back, hit his hat, not his head. Another man with pale eyes staggered out, wounded but scrambling away. Inside, more gunfire. I heard, "Leave him, Judah." Another voice answered, "We don't leave time. Time leaves us." Third man ran with a sack. He escaped. Fourth, unseen. Exhibit D, Letter from Prudence Turnbuckle. I was in the lobby when 4 masked men entered. I thought it a prank. Mr. Cartwright explained the vault as if giving a lecture. The pale-eyed one tugged his mask nervously. I pitied him. At 4, the vault opened, shots rang, Wheeler fell. Some say the sheriff fired first, some say the robbers. I say the building itself fired. Yours, Prudence. Exhibit E, Caleb. Broom Dalton, drayman. I seen the horses tied mean outside. That's how I knew their souls. Time? After school let out, 3:30 bell. Inside was silence. Scarred man, not tall. Pale-eyed boy, not built for it. When the vault breathed open, all little noises grew loud. Chair scrape, boot on nail, then shots. I swear the first came from inside the vault. Believe me or don't. Exhibit F, Testimony of Emelina Rojas, 9. The men wore red like ribbons at church. One dragged his gun, and it made a scrap on wood. The scarred man looked tired, not mean. He shot at the door, not at me. The loudest sound was Mr. Cartwright's clock. The gun sounded like beans popping. I wanted to laugh at the beans. Exhibit G, Unsigned letter, found unsent. Eli --. At 4, I stood before the vault, heart kicking. Judah said, "Wait." I said, "No." Then he went in. I ain't a bad man. I just couldn't wait. If I don't come home, sell the mare. H. Exhibit H, telegraph log. 4:11 p.m. Bank disturbance stop. Sheriff engaged, stop, stage delayed. 4:14 p.m. Possible robbery stop, 4 men, stop 1 wounded. 4:18 p.m. Stage will wait till dusk stop. Exhibit I, Undertaker's Ledger. Body number 41, male, approximately 27, pale eyes, shot in chest. Body number 42, Henry Wheeler, cashier, bullet wound, clavicle down. Body number 43, male, approximately 34, trampled by horses. Body number 44, Mr. Cartwright's pride, condition permanent, humor unbecoming of profession. Exhibit J, Bodie Standard, November 13. At approximately 4 o'clock, argued hotly. 4 men entered the Market Street Bank. Wheeler now lies dead. Sheriff Pike exchanged fire. 1 robber trampled, 1 fled wounded, 1 vanished. Mr. Cartwright insists respect matters more than money. Rumor says the first shot came from inside the vault. Rumor insists on many things. Exhibit K, note found near River Trail. If Wheeler died by my bullet, I will carry him forever. If theirs, I'll carry him anyway. We left a sack behind the livery, took the wrong one. Coins light as beans. The heavy sack's likely in the sheriff's hands now. Doesn't matter. Exhibit L, Addendum, Sheriff Pike. Recovered sack of coin under livery straw. Also hat with hole, left glove, child slate scratched, time is a door. Snow by next week. If I don't catch them, snow will. Mrs. Wheeler held her teacup with both hands. I had nothing useful to bring. The town wants a lock. I'm a hinge. Exhibit M, Cartwright, revised statement, unsent. I believed Holden to the hour would pour virtue into the room. Virtue did not come. Respect, I told the paper, matters more than money. Truth is, I felt naked without the money. Exhibit N, Old Sally Mayhew, laundress. People think they die of bullets. They die of the waiting before and the remembering after. I saw hats, guns, and shadows. A hat fell, and that was a man. Afterward, the snow stitched the ruts like somebody tried to mend them. Mending is lying with your hands, but sometimes it holds. Sheriff Pike reads his dime books and tips his hat, older by a week than by a year. Folks will argue forever who fired first. Truth small. A vault sighed. A boy tied his horse mean. Wheeler shook. A child wrote on a slate till the words blurred. That's all, and more than enough. Postscript, E. Hart. The vault's sigh meant different things to each. To Cartwright, discipline. To the robbers, invitation. To the sheriff, a bell before a duel. To Sally, the waitin' breaking loose. If there is justice, it will arrive like the vault did. Not when asked, but when time decides. And Bodie, being Bodie, will disagree forever on the hour.
The Wolves of Powder Creek. A tale told by a cowboy on the edge. March 7th, 1871, Powder Creek, Wyoming Territory. They say the plains will drive a man mad if he stares too long at the horizon. Nothing but grass and sky, a silence so big it swallows thought. But it weren't the silence that broke me. It was the wolves. The first night I heard 'em, I reckoned it was no more than nature's song. Distant howls, echoing off the creek bed. But each night since, they've crept closer. Every dusk, as the fire burns low, their cries rise higher, like a chorus mocking the little circle of light I sit in. I've been riding herd for near 15 years. but never have I felt eyes on me the way I do now. I see their tracks each morning, circling the camp. Claw marks in the dirt, paw prints pressing deep, close enough I could spit and hit one if I dared step beyond the firelight. And every night they come again. The second night, I fired into the dark. One shot, then two. The howls scattered, silence fell, and for a moment I thought I'd won. But in the morning, the prints doubled. My bullets hadn't driven them off. They'd only brought more. The third night, I set traps. Steel jaws baited with scraps. Come dawn, I found them sprung but empty, dragged into the brush. The metal twisted, bent near to useless. I don't know if it was the strength of their legs or the cunning in their teeth, but the wolves left them behind like toys broken out of spite. Sleep slips further from me with each passing night. My hands shake when I reach for the coffee pot. My eyes burn, my ears strain for every snap of twig. I hear them even when they ain't there. A crow calls, and I swear it's the rasp of a wolf's breath. The wind stirs, and I think it's paws on the dirt. By the fifth night, I'd given up the fire. The flames only painted me a target, lit me up for their amusement. I sat in darkness, rifle across my knees, breath clouding in the cold. The howls began low, rising in waves until the air itself seemed to shiver. They didn't rush me, they never do. Wolves are patient, they know a man alone is already half beaten. I fired once, twice at shadows. The sound rang off the creek bed, but the howls only grew louder, closer. I thought I saw their eyes then. Little green embers burning in the dark, a ring closing tight. My rifle jammed on the third shot, and by the time I cleared it, the eyes had vanished. But the howls, they lingered, like laughter. On the sixth night, I dreamed awake. Couldn't tell the difference no more. I thought I saw my pa, long dead, standing by the fire. Thought I heard him say, "Boy, the wolves ain't out there. They're in you." I blinked, and he was gone. Only the dark remained. I pressed my palms to my ears to drown the howls, but they seeped through bone and blood, a sound deeper than hearing. They clawed at the inside of my skull, tore at the edges of sense. I prayed, first to God, then to any spirit of land or beast that might listen. Promised I'd leave the herd, leave the prairie, leave it all if only the howling would cease. But the prairie don't bargain, it just watches. By the seventh night, I was no longer sure if the wolves were real. My firewood was gone, my rifle near empty, and my mind frayed like an old rope. Still, they came, padding soft around the camp, unseen but certain. I shouted into the dark, "Come then! Tear me if you must. I'll not cower another night." And for a heartbeat, silence. Then, a single howl, close enough I felt it in my chest. The others answered, a chorus all around, so near I could hear their paws scraping dirt. My courage broke, and I fell to my knees, clutching the rifle like a cross. I fired blind, round after round, until smoke choked me and the chamber clicked empty. The echoes rolled away, but the howls remained, circling, mocking, endless. Morning came pale and thin. I staggered out of camp, eyes raw, ears ringing. The earth was torn with prints, dozens, maybe hundreds, yet not a single carcass, not a drop of blood. Only the proof that I'd been surrounded all along. The herd had scattered. My horse was gone. I was left alone with nothing but my rifle, my journal, and the howls that now echoed inside me even under the sun. It has been 9 nights now. I no longer sleep. I no longer eat. My hands are bone, my breath shallow. The wolves do not come closer, but neither do they leave. They wait, patient as stone, until the line between man and prey thins to nothing. I write this not for remembrance, but for confession. The wolves have stripped me down, piece by piece, until I see the truth. The West does not belong to man. It never did. The land will have its balance. For every fence we raise, every river we cross, every herd we drive, the land answers in kind. Tonight, its answer is wolves. If I do not see another sunrise, let this be the last mark of my hand. The wolves are not beasts. They are the land itself. They come not to kill, but to remind. They circle, they wait, they watch, until the prairie silence seeps through your bones, and you understand. You were never meant to conquer it. You were only meant to endure it. March 16th, 1871, Powder Creek, final entry. The howls rise again. The fire is ash. My rifle is empty. My name is already gone to dust. Only the wolves remain, and tonight, I think I will step into their circle.
Ashes at Dawn. A tale of a master who met his end. Mississippi. Summer of 1865. The war had ended, though you wouldn't have known it standing on the veranda of Colonel Whitfield's plantation. The house still loomed over the fields like a vulture over carrion, its white paint cracked but defiant. The cotton rows lay ragged and half-barren, yet the air still carried the same smell of sweat, soil, and sorrow. Colonel Whitfield sat in his rocker, glass of bourbon trembling in his hand. He was not trembling from fear. He never allowed himself that weakness. He trembled from age, from the way his body betrayed him, though his mind clung hard to the old order. The Union could write what they like, he muttered to no one in particular. But ink on paper don't make a man free. These fields will tell you who belongs to who. He had spoken those words often since the surrender, to his overseer, to his neighbors, to himself, as if repetition could stitch the old world back together. But the truth gnawed at him. His world was dying, and the men and women he had chained within it were already gone in spirit, if not yet in body. That night thunder rolled low across the delta. The colonel sat awake, bourbon untouched on the table beside him, listening. His ears had grown sharp these last months, haunted by whispers in the dark. He fancied he heard footsteps on the porch, the scrape of metal, the rustle of grass. Each sound prickled his skin, though the night lay still. By the third glass, he admitted to himself what he feared most. The people he had once owned had no reason to let him live. He had beaten them, sold them, buried them without ceremony. He had treated them as livestock, and now livestock had turned human again, free and full of memory. Sleep would not come, so he sat with his rifle across his lap, muttering into the empty dark. The end began at dawn. The colonel woke from a doze to find the porch empty, the rifle still in his lap. He staggered to the yard, eyes blurry, and saw smoke rising from the fields. Not the thin gray smoke of cook fires, but thick black pillars twisting skyward. His cotton, his pride, his profit, burning. He ran, stumbling through the dirt, the bourbon sour on his breath. The roads blazed like a judgment, flames racing faster than he could follow. He shouted for the overseer, but no answer came. The house servants were gone. The field hands were gone. All that remained were the flames and the silence of men who had walked away in the night. By midday, the colonel returned to the house, sweat and soot staining his clothes. He collapsed in the rocker again, chest heaving, bourbon bottle empty. His empire was ash now. All that remained was him. That's when he saw them. At first only shadows, figures rising from the tree line, then faces, men and women who had bent beneath his lash, who had buried children in his soil, who had endured years carved from their lives. They stepped into the yard not as slaves, but as people. The colonel gripped the rifle, raising it with shaking hands. His voice cracked like old leather. "You've no right," he rasped. "You belong here. You always will." But the rifle felt heavy, too heavy for his failing arms. And the eyes staring back at him were not afraid. They were calm, steady, unyielding. One man stepped forward, tall, broad-shouldered, scar running across his jaw, a scar the colonel himself had left with the branding iron. His name was David, though the colonel had never used it, calling him only boy. "You remember me?" David said, voice deep and even. The colonel swallowed hard, sweat running down his temple. "I gave you work. I fed you. I dashed. You beat me." David cut in. "You sold my wife to Louisiana. You buried my son in that field." He pointed toward the smoldering cotton rows. The colonel's hand trembled on the rifle. "The law was mine," he muttered. David shook his head. "Not anymore." The circle closed. Men, women, even children all gathered in silence. Not a mob, not a frenzy, just a reckoning. The air grew thick with it. The colonel's breath came short. He tried to stand, but his knees buckled. The rifle clattered to the porch. For the first time in his life, the colonel looked up at those he had once forced to look down. He saw their faces, lined not with hatred, but with a kind of weary finality. They would not waste anger on him. They would simply end him, the way a storm ends drought, the way dawn ends night. It was David who stepped forward, slow and certain. He bent, picked up the rifle, and held it steady. The crowd did not move. The colonel opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. David's eyes never left his. "This is not for me," he said. "This is for the ones you took." And with that, he pulled the trigger. The sound split the morning. Birds scattered from the trees. The colonel fell back into his rocker, eyes wide, breath gone. When it was done, no one cheered. No one spoke. The people turned one by one and walked away. They had fields to claim, cabins to build, futures to shape. The colonel's death was not triumph. It was a clearing of the ground, a cutting away of route. By sundown, the plantation stood empty. The house loomed hollow, its windows black, its fields smoldering to ash. And in the rocker on the porch, the body of Colonel Whitfield sat still, the bourbon glass spilled beside him. His empire ended at last. Weeks later, travelers passed along the road. They found the house abandoned, the fields deserted, the chair on the porch still rocking in the wind. They did not ask where the master had gone. They did not need to. The land itself had answered. Some men are remembered for their deeds, others for their ruin. Colonel Whitfield left nothing worth remembering, only ashes at dawn and silence in the fields where once he claimed dominion.